How are
Hello.
you tonight, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well indeed, yes. Very,
Good,
very good. First
good,
week, we're marking 1 week after the launch of the United Free Press.
good, good. Well, Kerry, I have to be honest. I don't know a huge amount about what you're doing. I've
Sure.
had a look on the website, and my colleague Simon's given me a brief. So, he's very kindly arranged this. So, do you want to tell us a wee bit about who you are, about your background,
Sure.
and what you're looking to try and achieve here?
Sure. I think, firstly, the United Free Press is a new press association
Mm-hmm.
built primarily of independent and citizen journalists. I think, to a large extent, born of the last 2 years in journalism. I think, many of us in the United Free Press have come to journalism during that time, or indeed just prior to. So, what I started thinking last year was that we were not represented in any real way by any form of association that would um, accept citizen journalists and independent journalists. And so what I witnessed was, to a large extent, a lot of censorship around the free journalists that I saw that were operating in the sort of same sphere as me. And I thought, what better way to combat the kind of censorship that we see than to come together and form our own association.
Okay, okay. And what's your background yourself, Kerry? Where are you from originally, and where are you in the world
Sure.
today?
I, I'm in the UK at the moment. I am from New Zealand.
Uh huh.
I've been here for about 20 years now. My background is largely in the corporate sector, actually. Although I've been a photographer pretty much since I was in school, it's only really taken off, I think, in terms of photojournalism. I've been taking photographs for many, many years, as well as running a kind of a wedding photography business on the side. But I really came to journalism through this sort of through this time that we've had over the last couple of years. Um, it had been something of a kind of passion of mine when I was young. Went off and did my corporate thing and sort of came back to it, I suppose.
Yeah, and it's interesting from New Zealand because, of course,
Yeah.
Jacinda, unless you're accredited media, then
Mm-hmm.
you don't even get to ask a question. If you're in New
Mm.
Zealand, we played the clip where are you? Not taking the piss out of the New Zealand accent, more just saying, are you accredited media? If you're not, I'm sorry, I'm not. And I think
Yeah.
it is a very interesting question and debate of what is the media, what constitutes a journalist, and
Indeed.
really anybody can be a journalist. You are
Sure.
providing a journal of events. You are documenting what is taking place. It's a bit like anybody can be a numismatist, anybody can be a philatelist or whatever, but
Yeah.
you know, there are different degrees of that. There are some people who do it on an amateur level. There are some people who do it on a professional level. So, what, Kerry? Obviously, there's been a bit of you've launched, and I see you've got support from people like Resistance GB,
Yeah.
Iconic, Subject
Yeah.
Access, and others. And at UNN, we actually are a big supporter of all other alternative media.
Yeah.
Whilst we may not like be bosom buddies, we
Yeah.
think there is a huge room for new media, and a huge opportunity for people to just stop consuming anything from the
Yeah.
MSM. So
Yeah.
tell me a bit then about what you're looking to try and achieve.
Well, I think look, primarily, and I'll be very clear about this. Primarily, the goal of the UFP is to restore some sort of credibility to the what I think is a very noble calling of journalism. And I think we've seen that degrade over many, many years, not just in the last two. But my hope is that the UFP can stand for something. We have our own Charter of Ethics, which we published on our website. It's on the front page, on the homepage when you land on their website. And that is the sort of yardstick, if you like, by which we think we should be measured. And so putting that out there, putting our names to it, I think sends a very powerful message that we stand by the work that we do, and that we need to be considered as credible, if not sometimes more credible, than those in the mainstream or legacy media.
Now, one of the things I've noticed that you are pushing pretty big is for press passes. Now, not so much now, but a few years ago we did try and get a press pass, and as we've said, the only way you can get a press pass is a total closed shop. You have to be recommended by the BBC, ITV, or a trade union. I think obviously that is quite a big thing that you are pushing, is the press passes. What? Firstly, tell me why you think it is important that there is a different press pass issuer, so to speak.
Well, I think for some of us, certainly, it would virtually be impossible to gain access to having a press pass, no matter how good the quality of the journalism being output was from some of the major organisations that produce those. So I think as a press association and press accreditation organisation, we think we should produce our own, and we have. And I think part of that recognition, part of that desire to gain certainly the faith of the public, but at least to raise that credibility, is by having a press pass, by having something which is recognisable. And for us, it's not so much recognition from self-declared authorities, it's more recognition from the public. So if I'm carrying my United Free Press pass, I want that more to be noticed by the public than I do by perhaps any other journalists or mainstream media, or indeed organisations like the New Day, for example.
But the thing about the press passes, of course, is to get access to courtrooms, to get access to the front lines, so to speak, because the first thing the police will always say is, "Where's your press pass?" And the problem, is it not fair to state that the police and the authorities are told what an official press pass looks like? So how are you, like, I mean, I could create a press pass for our team, but it wouldn't be an official press pass. So how are you going to get around that?
What if that press pass was not something that was designed by you under your brand, but was something independent of that, and was actually an association of many different bodies, many different media organisations, including yourselves? That press pass, I believe, would carry more weight because of that association, and also that recognition that comes with it. I think the hope is that ultimately our press passes are recognised, and that the police see those as being credible press members.
But again, I'm not trying to piss on the parade, but the police won't recognise it. Like if I turn up with a United Free Pass press pass, they won't recognise that as an official press pass. So what do people do in these circumstances then?
Well, I think if you don't have any press pass, you certainly won't be getting anywhere, and ours is certainly not going to get you in anywhere. It's not about that. It's not about having a press pass that we believe is currently recognised by the authorities. It is not. But my hope is that over time it will be. So right now, today, if I try and use my press pass to gain access to, say, a courtroom, or indeed to another event or place where it is locked down to certain press members only, then that's not going to happen, is it?
No. So what would you say to people who are like, what levels are you looking for people to join on? Are you looking for people to join on a corporate level, on an individual level? What are you looking for in that regard?
All, really. So we welcome all independent or even non-independent journalists who feel that they can align with our Charter of Ethics and feel that what we're doing is worthwhile. Each member who applies for membership of the United Free Press is, let's say, interviewed, for want of a better term. So there are some criteria that we need to meet. We need to understand what kind of work has been done by the journalists, what the quality of that work is. Does it meet our Charter of Ethics? So there's a body of work that we need to review before anyone gets membership. But indeed, the idea really is not just to appeal to citizen journalists with phones, let's say, or folks who are doing stuff part-time. It's more, I suppose, in addition to that, it's also to appeal to a broader, more mainstream journalistic audience.
So, as things stand at UNN, our website overall, we're regulated by Impress, which is the official regulator. Now, as I said, I didn't do that. We didn't do that out of any wish to, suck up. It was primarily a way to avoid being deplatformed, and that's that's why we joined Impress. Was you know, I mean, we've been kicked off YouTube, unfortunately, but in terms of other things, it does lend us credibility. Now, Impress has been given a royal charter. You know, it has an official charter, and they are very. We've always found them very good, to be honest with you. They've never given us any editorial direction. They've never given us any trouble. Basically, they've been absolutely fine. And any time we've had complaints, we had one complaint upheld against us from Gina Miller, but obviously that was a long time ago. So, why would somebody join the United Free Press over Ipso or over Impress? What would be the benefits to the UFP?
Well, I have to say, it's not really necessarily about competition. It's about standing for something as an organisation, as an association. So I'm certainly not discouraging anyone from joining whichever press association or regulatory body they feel they should align to.
Okay, but what would you say that so you're and Kerry, was this who else is involved? Do you have like a board or anything? Do you have other people involved in this?
Yeah, we do indeed. So there are currently about 15 press members signed up all across. You mentioned Resistance GB before, and you mentioned Subject Access. We also have Rebel News, who have been very supportive of the work we're doing, as well as obviously Iconic and some others abroad as well. So, you know, there is a broad mix, and that's all listed on our website as well, alongside our supporters.
And so let's just say a deplatforming did happen. Let's say we lost a payment processor. Let's say we got booted off DLive, or let's say Iconic or someone else got done. How would you guys, what service would you offer there?
Yeah, well, I think the United Free Press is there to campaign against that, and I think the hope is that what we've seen. Let's look at what we've seen over the last couple of years with deplatforming. We've seen that largely targeted at either individuals or smaller operations, right? And so without any kind of association that sort of binds those groups together, it's very hard to fight back against individual censorship against one or other different organization or outlet. So the hope is that through the United Free Press, we will highlight that and we'll fight against that. You know, we're looking at setting up some legal funding for individuals who may be deplatformed or who may need to call on that for whatever reason, journalists that belong to the UFP. So, you know, like I say, it's something that we will fight, and we can fight that together much better than we can fight it individually.
Is one of the issues you're not going to face, though, Kerry, and we talk about all this quite a lot, alt media, people who are alternative tend to be quite free-thinking. They tend to be quite independently minded. Therefore, being part of something isn't necessarily in their nature. So how are you going to deal with that?
Well, my hope is that the United Free Press and what we stand for will speak for itself, and those that have reservations, and rightly so. I think, you know, it's quite natural, and certainly within this movement, I would say even more natural. So, you know, I think the United Free Press and what we do will speak for itself, and that will hopefully sway those minds.
Okay, and you some people mentioned it in the chat about like the Free Speech Union under Toby Young. Mm-hmm. Again, what would, I mean, obviously there is a slight difference, but why wouldn't you just go and join, say, the Free Speech Union, and they'll stand up for your right for free speech?
Because this is about the press. This is about forming an independent, truly free press corps, full of voluntary members who align to the Charter of Ethics that we publish. And this is a different proposition.
So who decides on the Charter of Ethics? Who wrote the Charter of Ethics?
I initially drafted the Charter of Ethics. I then passed that around to a number of other journalists that ended up forming the group and helping me launch it. We discussed it. I sent it for some legal review, and we decided how it was going to come out.
And you know, I did have a read of that. how will people deal with it? Say they break the Charter of Ethics. You know, that's how will
Really
that then play out?
Really good point. Our website is such that it's very easy to contact anyone at the UFP. It's very easy to contact myself directly. I'm quite open with publishing details of how to do that. And I think if anyone does find themselves in a situation where perhaps somebody might feel that a United Free Press press card holding member has broken that Charter of Ethics, then they ought to get in touch immediately.
So, I mean, over the last 2 years, I fully understand why you're doing this, Kerry. I fully get why, and I mean, I'm going to wait and see how things play out over the next few months, and I wish anybody well.
I think you and many others, David. I think it won't just be yourself, and I fully expect that. In fact, you know what? I encourage it, right? Because if the roles were reversed and I were in your shoes, I would be doing the exact same thing.
And that as I said, that's not to say. I think, like, I know what I know what people on our side are like, and they're hard work. That's all I'm going to say is they're hard work, and they're all very individualistic, and not in a bad way. You know, we're not all like, you know, loads of money fat, and that's not what I mean. It's just that, but anything that can share resources and pool resources when people get attacked, when people get deplatformed, when people get moved, I think anything that can act as a help to these people is a good thing. And Kerry, on another note as well, now, one of the big things that people have a problem with in alt media is earning money, getting paid. You know, we have supported a lot of these content creators that you have, because, you know, at UNN we do okay. People are very generous, but we've helped. What are you going to be doing that could help people perhaps earn money? I mean, earn a living, because it's hard, because people aren't used to asking how to donate. They're not maybe commercially focused. They're maybe very, very good journalists, but they don't know how to ask people for money. They don't know how to fundraise.
Well, I think it's about what you were saying before, actually. If I go back to your comment earlier around sharing resources, and it is exactly about that. So it's about sharing resources, it's about sharing knowledge as well. So what we're providing really is a space where citizen journalists, young journalists can meet older, more seasoned journalists who are also part of this association and exchange ideas, but more importantly, share knowledge. And I think that sharing of knowledge only helps increase the quality of work that we'll see coming through from the alt media. But you know, it helps facilitate the right kind of experience to then launch in something which does pay. Now, you mentioned, and I do want to answer your question quite directly, because you mentioned how will the UFP facilitate journalists gaining employment in journalism? And that really, I have to say, is probably not core to the function of the United Free Press. However, by virtue of kind of osmosis, if you like, the hope is that we establish something which is A, credible, and B, something lasting, so that, you know, journalists who find themselves on the other side of the legacy media, who might otherwise not have any form of career or any prospect of a career in journalism, have something which they've created as their own.
Yeah, so as I said, I think that the idea behind it is solid. I think anything that can be done to help alternative media, anything that can be done to help, because I see Citizen Sid's involved, and she's a brilliant girl. I've got a lot of time for her. She's a really bright girl, and like again, and she's
one of two minor journalists that signed up as members, you know, Free Press. So we have one other journalist as well, both under 18. And we've decided to admit them. So we're not a closed shop. This is a fairly open place.
She's a good girl. But again, you know, if I was to say one thing, and you know, UNN's been going 4 years, like UK Column have been going, I think 10, 12 years, and we're probably two of the largest independent alt media. Is that it's the reason most people don't stick at it is because you don't make any money doing it. It's this, and
Yeah.
Again, they're just, well, I know the UNN family's different. People are very generous, but it's just not in the culture to donate. And again, it's so much harder now. Like when we first started UNN 4 years ago, there was no censorship. There was we could go on YouTube, put on a show, and people would send us super chats, and
Yeah.
like that's all gone now. I mean, even on D Live right now, we're not allowed to earn any money, and that's not a complaint. But if you're a young aspiring media person, if you are trying to grow, the obstacles that are in front of you are so difficult. So if I could suggest something, Kerry, and it is something to think about, is how, if you do manage to build this and make it into something that larger individuals, people who would be prepared to say hand over 5-10 grand as a scholarship or something, how that could go to helping young people, and you know, I think that is, because that is why most people will stop doing what they do, because it's starting to cost them money, and that's only sustainable for X amount of time.
That's very true, and I think what we've seen over the last couple of years is, you mentioned Citizen Said, but there are many others as well who have done nothing but put their hands in their own pockets in order to facilitate their own journey the last couple of years. Now, it's a very, very long time for anybody to sustain the level of sort of self-funding, if you like, without getting anything back. And these people who are traveling the length and breadth of the country in order to spend, an hour, 2 hours, grab some interviews, go off again, try and post them. It's very hard work. It's a hard graft, is what it is.
It is.
And there is no recognition for it at the moment. And so, through the UFP and through that community, it's about education. So there's talk of some original content which we may produce around helping to train young journalists, to train young people into how do I set up a mobile rig to go and do some recording, to interview somebody. How do I do that? And what sort of software do I use to then get it out there? These are the kind of questions that people have. So there's that kind of starting off level of journalism where people really don't know how to get in, how to produce stuff, right through to hopefully attracting some more well-known folks who can share their experience and who believe in our vision.
Well, I think anything that acts as a counterbalance to the MSM is to be welcomed. So, Kerry, if people want to get more information about the work that you guys are doing and what you're trying to achieve, I think the website's pretty comprehensive. Can you tell us the web link, please?
Yeah, the website's there, unitedfreepress.org. You can come, you can read our Charter of Ethics, then sign up to support us. By all means, please do. I would encourage everybody to go and sign up if you believe in the Charter of Ethics, if you believe that really represents what true ethical and free journalism ought to be. Yeah,
and as I say, Kerry, my stance on it is I fully understand why you've done this. I recognise a lot of the people, and we'll wait and see how things play out over the next few months, and we'll maybe get a catch up in a few months' time. How does that sound?
Indeed. That sounds great. I'm sure I'll hear from you before then.
Good man. Okay, Kerry. Thanks very much for coming on the show. Appreciate your time, and good luck with what you're trying to do. Okay.
My pleasure.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye now.